Hey everybody, it's Josh, aka the Biscuit Eater, coming at you with another unscripted little talking point. These aren't going to be common on my site, but I have been thinking back and forth and trying to decide whether or not I wanted to talk about this on my platform, especially considering I don't exactly have a big platform. I'm tiny. I'm a little guy. I got 26 subscribers, and perhaps 3 to 6 of you watch on a regular basis. But even though I do my best, and I will continue to do my best to not make my channel a political point, there are a couple things that I think I need to say and just place my stance, make it very clear what my stance is, and use my platform, my privilege for that. So this is what this is. So be warned, if you are not at all interested in hearing me ramble about either COVID-19 or Black Lives Matter, then you're not going to want to hear what I have to say here. And hitting stop or next or going to the next video is perfectly understandable. I won't hold it against you, and I hope it doesn't turn you away. But I kind of need to just say my piece because I think it's important to do so. First, in regards to the global pandemic, I choose to believe the science. I choose to believe the scientists that are put into positions and who have worked to get into positions to find out this information. I do not believe that there is any sort of conspiracy or that there any sort of hoax going on. This is real. People have died. People I know have died. And there's a lot of ifs, ands, or whats, and I am not a scientist. I don't pretend to be, and I'm not going to be one of those folks that believes something based purely on what I read on a blog or an alt news site, or something that feeds into my wish that this wasn't a real thing. My wish that I could be outside right now, walking down the street without a face mask on, without having to worry about being a certain distance from people or any of that. I wish that that were the case, but I'm not going to allow that desire, that wish, to force me or make me go into believing anything aside from what we're being told by the CDC, what we're being told by the WHO. So in this case, I am not on the side of the current folks in power in Washington, D.C. This means I am not aligned with the political party that I actually have been a part of since I was a voting age. And I'm not young. I have been a registered Republican since I was 18, which would have been 1995. And although I have voted mostly Republican for the majority of my life, as I've grown older, as I've noticed discrepancies in the Republican platform that goes outside of the necessity of empathy, of compassion, and of caring for your fellow person. I almost gendered that, and I'm sorry. Doesn't fit with my personal philosophy and my personal experience. So for me, it's about caring about others. Yes, caring about myself too, because frankly, as I've mentioned in some of my videos, and it's probably obvious if you look at me, I'm not the healthiest person out there. I do have medical issues, I do have medical concerns and medical problems that affect me, that make me more likely to catch this thing. And if I do, I'm more likely to die from it. I'm more likely to have the heart damage. I'm more likely to have the exacerbated immuno response to it that causes the organ damage and causes organ failure and ultimately causes death. And so I have to be hyper aware and hyper careful. But even if I wasn't, even if I was the healthiest person on the planet, my mindset is this, and this goes outside of any political or any sort of consideration there. If I could save one single life, by wearing a mask, I would. Even if it meant I would have to wear a mask outdoors every single day for the rest of my life. One life. Because that's what's important to me. Other people. Living. That's all there is to it. And so yes, I understand the frustration and the resistance to people in government telling us you must wear a mask. But there's a reason for it. And it isn't the government overstepping their authority. Despite the fact of the competing claims that you get from the folks who are honestly motivated more by economic concerns and their own pockets than the lives of the people they're supposed to be protecting. This is put into place the people who the leaders who are demanding that we wear masks outside now in those areas where it's still happening is because we're not bothering to ourselves. In the event where people are not taking actions that are to the best consideration of everybody else, sometimes you have to pass laws. It's no different to me than a seatbelt law or a bike helmet law or anything else like that. Yes, there will always be people who chafe at that and will claim that their rights have been limited, and to a point they're correct. But even as a Republican, even as someone who once considered himself conservative, but not anymore, I'm far more US centrist, and I do make that section or that particular consideration on purpose because I understand that US centrist is not global centrist. Compassion and empathy have to control my decisions. Simple and plain. Any policy has to have that consideration. Anything I want to be the law has to have that consideration. And frankly, telling people that you have to wear masks in situations where you're going to be in close proximity to people right now during a deadly global pandemic is necessary because we're selfish pricks who can't bother to do it ourselves. Simple and plain. And I know I'm going to piss people off with that, and I know that there are people who are going to not watch my videos, or people who have never watched any of my videos that are going to see this, and they're going to attack me and do whatever. That's fine. I'm a little guy. I'm an easy punching bag, and I know it. But it is what it is. The other thing that I wanted to mention, and that I wanted to speak to and put my foot down on, which I also don't think is a political thing, is Black Lives Matter. I am a white, cishet, Christian, Republican male. I am not incredibly wealthy. I'm actually not wealthy at all. I'm definitely at the poverty level in many considerations, if you consider the average wealth in my particular area. But I have a lot of privilege. I've had a lot of things set in front of me purely because of the color of my skin. And one of them is the fact I can do things that my brothers and sisters and other with different color skin cannot. There are things that I could get away with that they cannot. And that isn't fair. There are things that I can do and know that the likelihood is statistically that a cop is not going to shoot me, or step on my neck, or choke me out, or tase me to death, or put me in the back of a van and beat me to death, or all the other various horrible, disgusting, unconscionable things that have happened. For those of you who may be aware, and actually I'm going to be locating myself a little bit. I live in the Pacific Northwest. More specifically, it's currently the 18th of July, which means in my area, not immediately to me, but close enough that I could walk there if I had enough time during the day, and close enough that I could take a bus there in under an hour. There are federal troops invading my city, attacking peaceful protesters with extremely overzealous attacks. I support Black Lives Matter. Simple plain. I support the protests here, Minneapolis, New York, San Diego, San Francisco, all the cities in the US and all the cities abroad that are protesting and speaking out against, and honestly raging against, an unfair, broken, corrupt, disgusting system that has been built around their subjugation. Just because I do not personally find impact to my life from them doesn't mean it doesn't exist. And although I don't support the looting and the violence that is supposedly being enacted on public property and private property and federal property and the cops, I understand it. I can empathize with it. Again, the whole concept of compassion and empathy. I can understand watching the past 80 years of the civil rights movement being just snubbed at. The boiling anger of people who have had their ability to be disgusting human beings limited and taking it out on these people where they believe they can do it in private or without any sort of recompense. No, I don't believe that all cops are bastards. I don't believe that all cops are bad. But I believe that all cops work in a corrupted, broken system. I believe that they are called upon to do things that they shouldn't be. That the actual purpose of the police is being co-opted to take care of everything because we as a society here in the States aren't willing to put the money into taking care of people. So instead of finding ways to work on the homeless issue, we throw police at it. So instead of finding ways to deal with the homelessness issue, if I may have said that already, mental illness and the way we treat it, domestic dispute, domestic violence, so many things we throw the police at. Wellness checks. Somebody is not responding to phone calls and we call emergency because we're afraid that they're either contemplating suicide or that they may be in trouble and need assistance. And we throw armed, combat-ready police officers at the issue. There's a problem there. I don't benefit from Black Lives Matter directly, but you know what? I do, ultimately. And so do so many people that I care about, which is all of you. So, that's what it is. This has been rambling. This is probably going to get me some hate. No matter how small I am. This could even tank me. Because who knows who all is going to be watching and who all is going to take issue with me daring to speak. But this is what I can do and say as a white, cishet, Christian, male Republican who is disabled, who is immunocompromised in a pandemic and can't be out there with them. I can use my platform. I can talk on social media. I can boost the voices who are out there on the street. And I can lend them my support. That's what I'm doing. And if you have a problem with that, I'm sorry. Still love you. Still want you to game on. We can disagree. That's all there is to that. And so I don't keep rambling on. I'm just going to say it now. Love you all. Game on, lovelies.